Hello, this is Jim Michaels with the Hickory Heights Church of Christ in Lewisburg, Tennessee. I'd like to share with you just a brief message from the Word of God. In Luke, the 14th chapter, and in verses 27, Jesus made this statement. He said, "And whoever does not bear his cross and come after me cannot be my disciple." I have to bear his cross, and I have to come after him. And unless I'm willing to do that, then I cannot be his disciple. What is a disciple? Well, a disciple is simply a pupil or a learner. It's one who learns from the master. Jesus is the master, and we have to learn from him. That's the only way that we can be a disciple. But it's interesting of something that's said in Acts, the 11th chapter, in verses 26. And the disciples were called Christians first in Antioch. So I cannot be a Christian unless I'm willing to take up the cross and follow after him. So now what's involved in taking up the cross and coming after him or following after him? What do I have to do to take up the cross? Well, let me suggest three things to you. Three very simple things. One is that the cross was an instrument of death. It was on the cross that Jesus was crucified and put to death. Now, what is it that I have to do? Well, I have to crucify self, put self to death. Paul said in Galatians 2 and verses 20, he said, "I am crucified with Christ. Nevertheless I live, yet not I, but Christ who lives in me. And the life which I now live, I live by the faith of the Son of God who loved me and gave himself for me." So what I have to do is to put self to death. In Philippians 1 and verses 21, Paul says, "For to me to live is Christ, and to die is gain." So for to me to live now, my life is lived in services to the Lord. It's about the Lord now, and it's not about me. It's about putting him first and foremost in our lives. But now let me suggest a second thing to you, and that is that a cross was a symbol of shame. In Galatians 3, for instance, and in verses 13, Paul says this, "Christ has redeemed us from the curse of the law, having become a curse for us, for it is written, 'Cursed is everyone who hangs on a tree.'" So now, by taking up the cross and following him, I have to make sure that I'm willing to bear any shame or reproach that's involved in serving him. Will there be people who will ridicule me for serving the Lord? Yes, but I still have to bear that shame. And let me suggest a third thing to you, and that is that the cross is an emblem of suffering. It was there that Jesus was crucified and Jesus was put to death. In Philippians 2 and in verses 8, it says, "And being found in appearance as a man, he humbled himself and became obedient to the point of death, even the death on the cross." So it's a symbol of suffering, and so I have to bear any suffering that's involved in serving the Lord. Am I willing to do that? So now, if I'm willing to take up my cross and follow after him, then certainly I have to be able or be willing to put self to death, bear any shame or reproach that's involved, and be willing to suffer for the cause of Christ. Thank you for listening.